Hey there, I'm Todd Gillisee. I am Gilla Games, but I'm also a huge music fan. And I've been an AC/DC fan for, since I was probably 9 or 10 years old. And I first heard them when I was that young. I grew up in Mansalona, Michigan, and we were about a block away from this fishing pond called Johnson's Pond that allowed kids only to go fishing there for free without a license. You had to be 12 or younger, I think. And every year they stocked the pond with fresh trout, and they tagged some of them. So if you caught one with a tag, you could bring it into like one of the local shops, and they'd give you a silver dollar. So the kids loved it. A lot of kids would go camping in the woods surrounding the pond that whole weekend, and sometimes other times whenever they wanted. But opening weekend was always a big time for people camping down there. And I was hanging out in the woods with some friends, and there were some older kids. When I say older, I don't know, they were probably like 15 or 16 years old because I was like maybe 10. So somebody had a boombox down there with Back in Black playing on it, and that album must have just come out. So they were rocking it out, and I was digging it. I had never heard anything like that before in my life, up to that point. Listening to a lot of, whatever was on the radio, whatever was popular on the radio, because you didn't have a lot of access to things back then. So, it might have been Hall and Oates or Kool and the Gang or maybe a little bit of Blondie. I don't know. Blondie might have come a little bit later. I don't remember exactly. But anyway, after that, I started getting into more AC/DC and exploring the earlier stuff with Bon Scott, and learning all about Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap, Highway to Hell, Power Edge, High Voltage, all of that stuff, and just loved it all. I just loved it. But it was really different because I was like, this doesn't sound like what I heard, because they had Brian Johnson on vocals starting with Back in Black, and it was such a huge departure, I think, from their sound before that, because even though the music was pretty similar, Brian Johnson's voice gave it a whole different vibe to it, a different feel. Um, Bon Scott had like a bouncy, playful, uh, like flirty kind of tone to it when he was singing about women and like going to hell and stuff like that. It just sounded playful. But when Brian Johnson was singing about like the same things, it didn't sound playful anymore. It sounded more serious. It sounded darker, and so it really had a different feel to it, even though they're singing about the same things. I mean, you got with Bon Scott, you got Highway to Hell, Hell Ain't a Bad Place to Be. Just off the top of my head, they like to sing about, you know, listening to rock and roll, getting together with girls, and going to hell. And then Brian Johnson comes along, and the first song on the album that he's on is Hell's Bells. And it's like the guitars, the whole riff is really dark. It starts with that dark bell ringing, and won't take no prisoners, won't spare no lives. It felt a lot more evil or darker, or I'm not even sure, like more aggressive in a way. Um, so it was definitely a whole new AC/DC, and it was their biggest album ever. They kind of, in my opinion, they kind of had a few albums after that weren't that great. They had maybe one or two songs that were like really good on, like For Those About to Rock, and Fly on the Wall, and Flick of the Switch. And then it wasn't until 1990, which was 10 years after Back in Black, the Razor's Edge came out, and that was a really good album. That had some different sounding things, but it also sounded very familiar, like Back in Black sound. So, and then after that, it just, to me, it sounded like AC/DC kind of slipped into like this mediocrity of comfortable riffs, and I don't know, it just, everything started to sound pretty much the same to me after that. So when I heard they were coming out with a new album after Malcolm had died and Brian Johnson went deaf, and I saw an interview with him, they apparently somebody had some technology to help him hear again. I was really skeptical, and I said, okay, I'm going to get this album, and I'm just going to make a video of a first impression of every song, the whole album, and just see how I like it. I might be really surprised. So there's my expectations, but what I'm hoping for is some really driving, really cool riffs, a lot of energy, clever lyrics. What I'm expecting is Brian Johnson's voice to sound fried and dried out, because that's how it's been sounding lately. A lot of mid-tempo, mediocre, forgettable riffs, but hopefully I'll be pleasantly surprised. So, okay, well, let's get started with the first song. It's called Realize. And another thing I noticed on this album, there's 12 songs, and 11 of them are 3 minutes and change in length, and one song is 4 minutes and 6 seconds. So it doesn't look like there's a lot of variety in the length of the song. So anyway, here's Realize. Good sound. Oh, that's cool. Classic AC/DC key change for the solo. It's not really much of a solo though, it's just kind of a rhythm solo. A few licks here and there. that was the first song. Okay, that was the first song off of Power Up called Realize, and I gotta admit, Brian Johnson's voice sounds really good. It's powerful. It doesn't sound weak or too dry. It's cutting through really well. At least in these AirPods that I'm listening to it through. I thought it had a really good sound, a good driving beat. The only thing that I felt like was lacking was like a really catchy chorus. The chorus was kind of almost non-existent. So that's my first impression. So let's move on. Rejection, song number 2. It's interesting hearing Brian Johnson hit those lower notes. Well, Rejection. That's the only song on the whole album that it breaks the 4 minute mark, 4 minutes and 6 seconds, and I feel like that was kind of exactly what I was expecting from this album. Pretty mediocre, mid tempo, nothing too memorable. So I think the first song, Realize, was stronger than this one. Well, hopefully we get some better stuff than that later. Okay, we're moving on to track 3 called Shot in the Dark. Sounds cool. I like those classic AC/DC backup vocals. And there's no mistake, if you heard this song and you didn't know who it was, you would know it's AC/DC. It's definitely the AC/DC sound. I like that. Sounds like Angus is finger picking those chords. Well, that song definitely just got straight to the point, did what it needed to do, and ended. It didn't waste any time. 3 minutes and 5 seconds, just barely over 3 minutes. Oh, there is one song that's under 3, 2:54 later on. So I don't know. That song was decent, but I wish that they mixed up the tempo a little bit more, because I feel like that was the same tempo as the last one. So hopefully they mix it up some more. That was a mid-tempo song. Okay, moving on to track 4. This one's called Through the Mists of Time. Okay, that's got a different feel to it. Different kind of beat for AC/DC. There we go. Hopefully they revisit that. Sounds pretty cool. That's different. It's like those Thunderstruck style backup vocals right there. I like it. There we go. Going back to that intro beat. Still a mid-tempo song, but it definitely has a different feel than the others, in a good way. Thumbs up on that one. I like it. Through the Mists of Time. A little bit different for them, but good. I think it's a good thing. Okay, track 5 is Kick You When You're Down. And just by the name of that song, and based on the fact that the last 3 songs in a row have been about the same tempo, I'm hoping that Kick You When You're Down is going to be just a fast driving song. So let's see. Nice guitar sound. Cool riff. Cool sound. a weird chord right there. Every time it plays, it seems out of place. That chord. Okay. Had a good riff to it. Good, cool, catchy riff, but I don't think it fit in that spot on the album based on what came before it. I mean, it just feels like so far the songs aren't bad. They definitely aren't bad. And there's a couple of good ones, I would even say. But it doesn't feel like it's flowing as an album so much. It's just like, here's a song, here's a song, here's a song, here's a song. It's a collection of songs. And I think what makes an album great is when the songs are placed in an order that makes the album flow from one song to the next so smoothly and seamlessly that you don't even really realize that you're on to the next song and you're on to the next song. And, the best albums are finishing before you even realize that the whole thing went by and you just want to play it all again from the start. That's the best albums. And those are architected, not just as a collection of songs, but putting those songs in the right order. And after you think you've recorded all the songs for an album, if something just feels like we need something in between here, because it doesn't seem right to go from this song to this song, or like the end of that song to the beginning of this song, we need something else in there. Then you make it and you put it in there and you make it work. I don't know if AC/DC's really ever been a band that does that. Maybe all their albums are collections of songs, but and maybe it's just accidental. But I mean, Back in Black flows really well. I would even argue that, I'm tired of hearing "You Shook Me All Night Long" on the radio. I mean, that song is just played out, and whenever it comes on the radio, I turn the channel. But if I'm listening to Back in Black from start to finish, I don't skip that song because it feels right in the flow of the album. You have a lot of energy on that album leading up to that, and that song is a nice break, not only from the energy, but also from the darkness, because that song is a much lighter sounding song than the darker sounding songs that came before it and after it. So it's kind of a little breather. And that's what I mean. This album so far doesn't have anything like that. So, moving on to song 6. It's called Witch's Spell. I really don't know how to predict what these are going to sound like anymore. So here we go. Slightly more up-tempo, probably about the same as the first track, Realize.
Like a completion who takes the whole lot, and it's a lot. Riding on me, sing the starlight, blaze in the night sky, see the witch's flight, cutting a witch's spell, gotta tell the tale, cutting a witch's spell, gotta tell the tale, cutting a witch's spell, is all coming to you.
That bass slide that he keeps doing right there sounds kind of cool.
Like it bathed in a light.
Don't hear a lot of that in AC/DC.
The spell's just right. Cutting a witch's spell, gotta tell the tale. Cutting a witch's spell, gotta tell the tale. Cutting a witch's spell. Crystal balls in an almanac. She's gonna take you there and back. Million oceans, snake on a staff. Got the charms in a witch's spell.
So he actually mentioned Taking You to Hell. It used to be a AC/DC staple. They don't seem to talk about it much anymore, but there you go. Not a bad chorus, not a bad song overall, just not great. Still waiting for something to just, blow my socks off, and just catch me totally off guard and be like, holy shit. All my old AC/DC friends have got to hear this, or whatever. Whatever friends, that are music lovers, and I haven't heard anything like that yet. We are on track 7. So we're going, track 6 is Witch's Spell, track 7 is Demon Fire. So they got a little bit of a theme going on here with the darkness and the evil. Okay, let's see what it sounds like. Demon Fire. Hopefully this one's got some energy.
He loves to drive him crazy with his evil lips.
There you go.
Great guns a-blazing. My deadly trip.
I don't know why Brian Johnson doesn't sing with that low voice more often.
Yeah, born in no family, born in no creed. Yeah, raised by a jackal and raised the bad seed. You better look around before you hit the ground. Give me no quarter, that's all fine.
That guitar riff makes me think it sounds like a finger exercise.
Devil on a deadline. Gonna send you down. Demon fire. It's all you desire. Demon fire.
I like it.
It's all sapphire.
Some more finger exercises.
Sinking all pound, gonna hunt you down. Burn out under flies, gonna knock you out. You better look around. Hear the evil sound. Give me no quarter, drenched in grime. With all the bad intentions, gonna send you down. Demon fire is all you desire. Demon
Good classic AC/DC style ending there. All right, that song wasn't bad. A little bit more energy. Still, I don't know. Still, just doesn't have the fire of something like "Let There Be Rock" or "Riff Raff" or something like that. But that's some ancient stuff right there. "Shoot to Thrill." That would be about the same tempo, I guess. Okay, we're just moving on. There's 12 songs on the album. We are on number 8, "Wild Reputation." Here we go. It's a nice bass sound. Something I've always loved about AC/DC is how each guitar is hard panned. And I like when they kind of play off each other. Brian Johnson's got a great, deep, scratchy voice. I don't know why he doesn't use it to sing with. They could do some really killer bluesy style stuff with that deep, scratchy voice. I mean, look at what ZZ Top did. A bunch of really cool stuff with like a deep voice, bluesy stuff. And I think that Brian Johnson's voice doing that would sound even better than what they were doing in ZZ Top. Use that voice to sing like LaGrange or something. I think it would be just killer. Feel like they have a tool in their toolbox that they're not using. Number 9, No Man's Land. That's a cool sound. That's 3 guitar parts. hate to say it, it's just turned into another mid-tempo, forgettable riff. Forgettable vocal melody. Had kind of a cool sound at the start, but it didn't go anywhere. Same kind of mid-tempo speed. I feel like this whole album so far, we're 9 tracks into it, and there's basically 2 tempos. A slow mid and I guess a fast mid. Nothing really fast, nothing really slow. Systems Down, number 10. That sounds pretty good.
This furnace is about to blast. Systems are going down. Systems are burning out, and they all fall down untamed, like a tiger searching feet. Ain't no game as the earth shakes beneath your feet.
Interesting rhythm there.
We got a plan of action.
This part's the best part of the song so far. It's pre-chorus. And it only does it twice. It's too short.
Systems are going down. We got a chain reaction. Systems are burning out, and they all fall down. Yeah, 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 yeah.
That rhythm is
This furnace is about to
really awkward in a cool way. It reminds me of something like from Helmet.
burn down. Systems
But they totally skipped that pre-chorus this time, coming out of the solo.
all fall
And I feel like that's the best part of the song. They're already just taking it home. 3 minutes and 13 seconds for that song, but I feel like that could have been a 4-minute song if they used that pre-chorus part maybe twice as long each time they did it. And they only did it twice. The first time the pre-chorus, the riff goes twice. The second time the pre-chorus, the riff goes twice. And then they don't do it again, ever. Not even going back into the chorus from the solo. They totally skip the pre-chorus, which they should have done it. Maybe that was where they should have done it twice instead of 4 times. I don't know. I'm not a professional music producer, but I feel like if I was one, that would be what I suggested. Track 11 is called Money Shot, which sounds like a classic AC/DC title. So let's see what it sounds like. Pretty much the same tempo out of the two. Brian Johnson's using that low voice in several parts on this album, but every time it's just like a talking part. I want to hear him sing with it. I don't really have much to say about that song. It's another shot at the dartboard. They have 12 shots at the dartboard to try to get a hit song on this album. That's what it feels like so far. That was the 11th one. It's a collection of songs, and they're not bad, but they're not great. Let's move on. And here we are on the last song of the album Power Up. It's called Code Red. Hopefully it's not sponsored by Mountain Dew. kind of a cool riff.
Loading up the battery, raising up insanity, beating on the old time blues, crawling up the walls, slipping on a waterfall, panting out that juice. Strike one, strike two, set your guns ablaze. Strike three, call emergency. You're gonna play it safe. Speeding up the road, tearing up the highway code, ain't gonna slow me down. No need to hesitate.
What would sound really good, what I really want to feel right now is them going double time out of that riff into something else. Doesn't sound like it's going to happen.
Reputation on your mind, enemy within your sight. Fire up, fight straight, fight free. Situation on the line in the pale moonlight. Run quick, run solid, run deep. Hot fight, run night, dead in your sight. Fire light, fire bright, fire in the night. Station to station, yeah, code red. Battle stations, out code red. Weapons ready, code red. Fire one, fire two.
I'm kind of having a hard time understanding what Brian Johnson's saying. You know, I compare this to, you know, the fast singing that he's doing, the almost like rapping, to the song Back in Black. And in that song, you can understand just about everything he says, even though it's going by fast. Wow. Yeah, this is definitely a collection of songs. This isn't even really an album. This is like, you know, the whole album didn't flow. It was a song, and then it was a song, and another song, and another song, until you had 12 songs. It doesn't feel like an album just ended. It just feels like another song just ended. And it's I don't know, I guess it's kind of what I expected. A bunch of mid-tempo, mediocre songs. I think the strongest one, and remember, this is my first listen through on this album ever. And I know sometimes songs don't really sink in. You don't really appreciate them until you listen to them again, maybe a few more times. But my first impression is Through the Mists of Time is the strongest song on the album because it sounds so different. Has a really cool vibe to it. Everything else kind of just blurs together. I gotta be honest, it just blurs together. So I don't know if you like this, that tempo and that sound that this album has given you, then you may love this album because it's given it to you in spades. It's every song. There's about, I'd say the tempo range on this album is probably between 100 beats per minute and 140 beats per minute or something like that. It's a pretty 140 might even be generous. I'm not sure, but it's a pretty narrow range. So I don't want to say that I'm disappointed because it's pretty much what I expected. So it's on par with that, but I guess I expected to be disappointed. I wish it blew my socks off. I really wanted it to, because I'm a huge AC/DC fan, since I was a kid. And I wanted to get some new material that I just loved. I like listening to new stuff all the time, whether it's from new bands or old bands. And I'm really, really happy when an old band just surprises me with the new material is, better than the old material. And example, Offspring. Offspring, everything that they put out since the 2000s, I think is better than anything they put out in the 90s or 80s. Just got more mature, better songwriting structures. Always kept it interesting. Took risks, tried different things. None of their albums sound like 10 or 12 shots at the same thing. They're all different. Clutch is another band. They've been around since early 90s, maybe late 80s, but early 90s when they started putting out albums. And they've evolved over the years quite a bit. But some of their best material is their latest stuff in the last 10, 15 years. So, I mean, it's possible, and I always want to hear that kind of stuff. They sound different. They don't have to sound like they used to sound. So, I wish AC/DC would take Brian Johnson's deep, scratchy voice, give us some real bluesy, cocky, bluesy stuff, and then save his high, scratchy, aggressive sounding voice for more ass kicking, high tempo material, with some ripping guitar solos and stuff, like they used to do. I don't know if Angus is having problems with his hands or something, but I don't remember, after one playthrough on this album, I don't remember being struck by any guitar solos or any amazing lead guitar work. And there was a few interesting riffs and stuff, but Malcolm's not in the band anymore, so I know Malcolm didn't come up with it. I don't know if it's their nephew. I don't know what his name is. They got their nephew or something playing on rhythm guitar now. Well, I want to know what everybody else thinks of it. Leave comments down below, and I thank everybody for watching. I know it's kind of a long video, and hopefully they don't block it completely because of the music. I know it's not going to be monetized, but it's okay because I don't really monetize my videos anyway. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next music review.